Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Now about a year ago I bought this system from some guy online and I've been playing around with it, but I never really got around to test the processor in here. And I figured that's what we would try to do today. So without further ado, let me introduce this system for you. The case itself is a Lenovo ThinkCentre, just a basic case, not much to it. Now the motherboard in here is a Lenovo IG41M. It has a socket LGA775. And in this particular socket we find the Intel Pentium E5200. Now this is a dual core processor clocked at 2.5 GHz. It is from 2008, so it is fairly old. For our RAM we have 2 sticks of 2 GB DDR2. I believe it's clocked at 800 MHz and it is built by HyperX. The GPU we'll be using in this particular system is an ASUS built NVIDIA GTX 650, and this particular model has 1 GB of GDDR5 RAM. Now the way I want to test this CPU is first I want to run the Cinebench, and then I want to run the Resident Evil 6 benchmarking tool. I want to try playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Subnautica, and maybe PUBG. Now when I first started using this system I realized that it is very sluggish, so I think we may experience some CPU bottlenecks right here. I've already tested the GTX 650, the video is on my channel, so that might be a good comparison to this particular system. Now the first test I decided to run was Cinebench R15. And this was moving quite slowly, and we ended with a low score of 123 Cinebench points. Now this is not much, and well, it's pretty much what I expected from a 10-year-old processor. I then started up the Resident Evil 6 benchmarking tool and I set all these settings to low. Now I noticed that between the benchmarks and when I first started up the benchmark, the loading times were a lot longer than they were with any other system that I had tried, also indicating that our CPU was under pressure. But the final score we ended up with was 5,314. It's still better than I expected from this system, but it's still lower than with the quad-core Athlon. On to Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Once again I set these settings to, well, low, and a few was in the medium range. Our frame count seemed to be running around 30, maybe 50 frames per second, depending. Now keep in mind this match is against bots and it's offline, so that puts a little bit of extra strain on the CPU. That being said, I experienced some lag spikes that I did not really care about, and here's a screenshot of the GPU and CPU usage on the MSI Afterburner. As we can see, it really looks like the CPU is bottlenecking the GPU, since I know this GPU should be doing a lot better in CSGO. So pretty evident right here that the CPU is keeping us down. Next game I wanted to test was Subnautica, and I set the settings pretty much as low as they would go. Now initially we were running around 30 to 60 frames per second, which actually seems quite playable. But the loading time was very slow, and I did experience a bunch of lag spikes and a few drops down to 18 frames per second, which pretty much makes this somewhat unplayable on this system. Once again I will put up the screenshot of MSI Afterburner, and as we can see the CPU seems to be bottlenecking the GPU once again. And lastly we have PUBG. Now this was not an enjoyable experience, to say the least. Once I finally managed to install the game and get into the game, I was greeted with like 2 minutes of loading screen, and just as I thought the loading screen was about to be done, there was a pop-up saying that I needed to download something extra to make the game work, so I pressed download. And this isn't the end of it. After I pressed download, this system wanted to restart, which triggered, I don't know, Windows to do a system update or something, and it took a long time to get back into the to my desktop. But finally I decided to try again, and once again I was greeted with a long, well, I can't even remember how long it was loading for. And once I finally got in, I had already drowned, so yeah. PUBG is in no way playable with this CPU. I know the GPU can do PUBG, I've done it before, but the CPU is not up for the task. Alright, so the final verdict on the Pentium right here. It's a very slow processor. I mean, this system gets stuck very easy. Everything simply just takes longer. I mean, it's very slow. You gotta have patience if you want to use this processor. Also, the GTX 650 I have in here is a way overkill. This system cannot utilize the true potential of the GTX 650, which we see from all these bottlenecks I've had. I mean, the GTX 650 did way better with the Athlon X4 845 that I have in my home theater PC, but in this system it's worthless. So it goes without saying, do not buy the Pentium E5200. There's really no use for it, especially not in gaming. Now I hope you enjoyed this video. I have mixed feelings about this experience, but thank you very much for watching.